Dorset, a bucolic landscape of rolling chalk hills and ancient woodlands, and to an archaeologist like me, the landscape of giants. Well, one giant in particular. Records suggest that this chap's been on display on this hillside for well over 1,000 years. But the University of Sheffield's Hugh Willmott thinks there's much more to this landscape than the club-wielding brute carved into the rock above the village of Cerne Abbas.
I've been working on monastic sites of various periods, probably for the last 20 years. And I think that what's really interesting about Cerne is that there's a very rare opportunity to look for what is effectively a lost abbey. I mean, it's been wiped off the map at the Dissolution in the 16th century. There's been virtually no archaeological work on the site at all. So 2 years ago, we decided to use ground-penetrating radar. And, you know, the results were brilliant. And we had that sort of classic moment where we could suddenly see the picture appearing down the screen in sort of slow motion. And before we know it, there's this plan of a cloister, and it was just amazing. We were sort of dumbstruck because it was just too good to be true. It's where we all just went silent, looked at the computer, and just thought, my goodness, it's actually there, and we've actually found it. That's when we decided to do some digging.
Time Team had a chance to catch up with Hugh in the summer of 2023 when he finally got an opportunity to put spades into the ground in an open field just a few hundred yards from the giant's feet.
We're here because once, up until the dissolution of the monasteries in the 16th century, there was one of the largest, richest abbeys in the southwest of England right on this spot. And after it was closed down in 1539, it pretty much disappeared off the maps.
So I'm taking it, these red squares are your current trenches that you've got there. So why place them in those positions for week one?
Well, we had so many questions and it was quite difficult to decide where to put them, but we thought we'd place the main trench here, which is trench A, over part of the cloister, this east range, and then the church, so we get a little bit of everything. It's also an area that's probably one of the poorer preserved. You can see the geophysics is a bit weaker. And one reason for that we would place the trench there is we thought it might give us an opportunity below where there aren't walls or where the walls have kind of been robbed away.
Historical records say that the abbey here was founded in 987 AD, but with the potential for an Anglo-Saxon era giant bestraddling the slopes beside the monastery, Hugh thinks it's worth investigating deeper.
Well, it's early days, so you've got to get your eye in, but so far you can see we've machined off nearly a metre of rubble, collapse, robbing material. So most of what has been removed so far is all quite late. And we're just down onto the top of the medieval layers. Now we can tell this part of the site has seen quite a lot of robbing of the stonework. It's probably by the villagers to build their houses, that sort of thing, where they've gone around and taken out all the nice worked stone. And on the far side of it is the inside of the cloister. And then where these people are working, that's the very, very first top surface that we've got, medieval floor layer. So what we're really hoping for, and I'm sure we're going to find, is really untouched medieval floors, areas of walling, and then maybe any features that predate these sort of walls that we've got here.
It's always a nervous time when you're deciding where do I put the trenches. You've got to make decisions, but it is really exciting. As soon as the digger had finished clearing off the tops, we started getting nice bits of floor tile that are decorated, bits of architectural stone that still had paint on them, and that's before we'd even found any intact archaeological surfaces.
2 weeks into the dig, Hugh invites me down to see what the team have unearthed.
Hugh, it's week 3. Why don't you talk us through what some of the things you found and some of the highlights?
Well, over on that part of the site, we've got the open cloister. It's like the sort of open garden area. And that linked up many of the main buildings of the Abbey complex. And then where we're stood at the moment is actually in the Abbey walkway, which was a covered walkway that ran around the outside of the garden and would have had an arcade with sort of open arches. Sometimes they were glazed, so you could look out onto the garden. And then behind us, we've been looking at evidence for the edge of the church and possibly the chapter house.
Abbeys like this were some of the country's wealthiest institutions. But fresh insights into the seismic moments of 1539, when the monasteries were dissolved by Henry VIII and Cromwell, are hard to come by. This really is a unique opportunity.
Hugh, you mentioned you found a few tiles, and I can see bits sticking out of the ground just in front of us. But what sort of things are you discovering?
Well, we're in the area inside the church and we're just coming down onto the floor level.
Right, okay. And you've got a few floor tiles as a result?
Well, have a look for yourself.
Oh, look at that. That's spectacular.
Yep, this is an in situ section of church floor. So all the other tiles we found have been displaced or broken up, but this is in the same position it was 500 years ago when the Abbey church was demolished.
So why don't you use that sponge and just tidy it up? I bet they can't really nicely.
Yeah,
don't
go on,
they?
give it a go.
This before. I've never cleaned a medieval floor before. So how old do you think? Does this floor supposedly date to?
Well, I mean, it could be as early as the 13th century. Certainly the rest of the building seems to date to that time.
And do you think these would have been glazed previously?
Yes, I mean, originally they would have had a glaze on that would make them even shinier. And if you think in artificial candlelight or whatever, they would really reflect and glow. And given it's heavily worn, it's been in place for many decades, if not centuries.
Oh, look at that. The colour's really coming up when you get that.
Absolutely.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh, this is really special.
It is. It's not often that you get to do that.
Hugh's only opened a small portion of the site, but already his team have made some remarkable discoveries.
Hugh, we found some great bits of masonry in your trenches, and there's a really nice selection here. Everything from window arches. Is that colonnade?
It is, yes, it's Purbeck marble.
Lovely. But the standout piece is this bit right in front of you here. What have we got?
Well, I mean, it is quite extraordinary. It's very carefully and delicately carved. We've got a sort of bunch of grapes here. There seems to be a vine leaf there. And then it's got the painting in this sort of very vivid red as well.
It's a beautiful thing, really fine craftsmanship, but it's pretty in your face and garish, isn't it? Is that gold leaf or is it painted on?
It's probably painted on. They probably mixed the gold powder up with an amalgam of mercury or something like that and painted on. But quite what it is, I don't know. I think we're looking at it upside down. If you imagine it the other way up, it looks like a sort of support or like a little shelf, perhaps for a statue or, for something else to sit on in a very prominent location.
So this isn't found in the trench just behind us, it's the trench with the tile flooring
Yep,
that you found?
It was found just above the tile floor, in the demolition rubble of the church. So it probably came from a really fancy, important part of the church.
Although we're only finding pretty small broken up bits of stonework, you could still reconstruct so much about what the church and the rest of the monastery looked like from these small fragments, and we can tell it's an incredibly fancy building. And it wasn't just bits of building material culture that we found. We actually came face to face with one of the former residents of the monastery. We actually found a pretty well-preserved skeleton of a sort of middle-aged male, possibly an abbot, maybe another high-ranking person. So we really had this opportunity to sort of, meet firsthand somebody who'd actually lived and then died in that monastery. We found more than we could imagine, really. But what's great about this is that we only had two fairly small trenches. We were digging less than 1% of the site. So really, we're only just getting a little glimpse into what this monastery was like.
And this is a lovely Purbeck stone.
Cerne's a really special place, and the Abbey itself is actually more exciting than many others. Not only do we have a really nice, large, late medieval abbey, but we know there's a deeper history to this site. And in our excavations last summer, we just got a little hint of an even earlier past, 200 years before the first documented presence of a monastery at Cerne, which makes it really very unusual and gives us an opportunity to really change the way we think about life in the so-called Dark Ages.
Time Team will be returning to Cerne Abbas and the exciting second season of excavation to watch the incredible dig unfold. Hugh and the team will be delving further back into the Abbey's lost history, and fingers crossed they will find the elusive earlier Anglo-Saxon predecessor. If you'd like to learn more about the dig and the work that the University of Sheffield have already done, or even excavate there yourself in 2024, head over to the Cerne Abbey Research Project 2024 excavation page at www.hugh-willmott.co.uk.
Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses, and behind-the-scenes insights.